right, 21 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It never ceases to amaze me when I hear stories of survival and survival against all odds. The Holocaust has so many stories that have come out of that horrible time in human history. And we're still so close in time to it that a lot of the stories are really brand new. Can you imagine you learn about the Holocaust and never even knew that your own family had survived the Holocaust?
Yeah.
And then you do research, and instead of like going, to Google or to the library, you basically have to look through your family's own papers and stuff. The book that we're going to talk about is written by Georgia Hunter. She's on the phone. The book is called We Were the Lucky Ones. If you're looking at the podcast, you're looking at the cover of the book, and the cover, and you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but that's a touching cover right there. For those who can't see it, it's looks like it's in the 40s. Well, obviously it would be, right? A man and a woman sitting. The man has his arm around the shoulders of the woman, and they're just sitting in an open place. I don't know where that would be. Georgia Hunter. Good morning, Georgia. What a touching story you tell. And it's a memoir. Not a memoir, but it's like a history more than a novel, isn't it?
It is. Good morning, and thanks for having me. It's based very closely on my family history, my grandfather and his siblings and his parents.
So how did you,
track them throughout there?
If they kept it to themselves and never shared it with the younger people in the family, what broke them so that you finally knew this?
So I guess it goes back to when I was 15. My grandfather had actually died the year before when I was 14, and in high school, 15 years old, I had an assignment in an English class to go interview a relative to learn something about, my roots and into myself. And I decided to sit with my grandmother, Caroline, and that was it. That was over the course of that hour that I discovered that my grandfather wasn't born in America, as I had presumed, but was Polish, from this town called Radom, that he had 4 siblings, parents, nieces, nephews, and that they all were Holocaust survivors. So that was the first discovery, which, as you can imagine, sparked a lot of questions and curiosity.
Wow.
And then, about 5 years later, my mom hosted a reunion at our home in Massachusetts, and again on her father's side, and invited all 10 of her, or she's one of 10 first cousins, and they all came from Brazil and France and Israel across the states. And it was then, I was 21, had just graduated from college, and it was then that I was introduced to the kind of the greater Kirk family story. So I heard bits and pieces of the other siblings' accounts, like, one who was sent off to Siberia and survived a year in the Gulag, and another who was married and hiding with a rabbi, that had come out of hiding, and they had a secret wedding. I heard about, escapes from the ghetto and disguised circumcisions and hikes over the Austrian Alps. Like, the stories kind of came out one by one, and I remember sitting there thinking, whoa, how have I not heard these before, and how has no one taken the time to write them down?
Yeah, really. But you have now, and we have them now. So when you heard the stories, you took those stories and you wove it into a tale, and you didn't go in the political direction like some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But still, you can see the politics of the day through loving eyes, I guess is the best way to say this.
Of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I felt strongly about just telling it as they would have experienced it. I feel like even though the Holocaust was not that long ago, it will feel like ancient history soon. And I really wanted this story to take the Holocaust and this pretty unfathomable event in history to many. I mean, you think about it from statistical and a historical perspective, and it's almost impossible to wrap your head around it. So I wanted to kind of talk about that time through my family in a way that felt very human, and a little bit maybe a way that people could really relate to it. Like, oh my gosh, well, I can imagine being there and trying to decide what to do with my 3-year-old daughter. Do we risk our lives? Do we escape? Try to escape the ghetto, or do I put her in the hands of a nun at a convent, miles away where I can't see her? So I really did decide in the end to write it as fiction, because I wanted to add that more human aspect and tell it in a way that hopefully brought it almost closer to the truth.
And you allude to the fact that music is very important to every generation, even though you have a gentleman in the book that has a different name than your grandfather. You said that your grandfather was a composer as well.
Yeah, he composed his whole life, and actually, so his name, Addie Kirk, that's what he grew up with. And when he moved to the States, he changed it to the English phonetically sounding name, which is Eddie Kortz. It's actually in Polish, you pronounce Kurc, Kortz. So yeah, Addie's my grandfather, and he was a composer by heart. Like, that was his passion, and he had a hit song in Poland in his early 20s. It was famous, sung by Vera Grán, and then he never stopped. I think it was part of what kept him going day to day during the war when he lost touch with his family, because he actually made it to Brazil and made it to safety when the others didn't. So I'm sure that was a piece of his way of like getting through. And then afterwards, and later in life, he composed up until the very end.
So do you see yourself when you look at your relatives?
I do, so much more than I did before I set off on this just journey of research, because I didn't know this. I didn't know the piece. I didn't know the story. I didn't know what they went through. So not only am I like I said, I'm in awe of them and their courage and their perseverance and their ingenuity, and certainly the luck that played a role in their survival. But I feel like through my interviewing and so many hours spent with second-generation survivors, and certainly with Felicia, I've come to know those relatives that I didn't, that have since passed away, or before I had a chance to get to know them. So I see them for who they are, and then I see how much a part of me they are. So that's really special, I think.
I think you've taken something that's got to be touching for you and your family, and included us all in on it. And I think we learn from it. And if we don't learn, at least we're touched by it in a way that hopefully will contribute to anything we need to do to prevent such a thing from ever happening again. But that was awkward, but I think you know what I mean, right?
Totally, yeah. No, I think, history can repeat itself so scarily so, but by keeping these stories alive, it's one way to kind of relate to it and remember it.
It's a great title, by the way.
Yeah, happy to hear you say that.
We were the lucky ones. Georgia Hunter is the author. I have a copy of the book. If I have somebody out there who wants it for free, just call me and it's yours. The rest of us have to go buy it. It is the cover on the podcast right now. And let's see, I found it on Amazon. You're getting good reviews. You are getting really good reviews.
I know. It's resonating really well. I'm very humbled.
Right now, you're number 3 in the Kindle for Jewish American category. Wow, number 3.
Wow.
Listen,
cool.
You didn't even know that, did you?
No.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So you can go to what do you call it? Amazon. You go to Amazon, or do you have another website, or is just any bookstore?
Barnes and Noble, iBooks, IndieBound. Yeah, go to your local indie store if you've got one.
Very good. Thank you so much, Georgia, for being on the air with us, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you, Larry. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.